Here are the 4 worst winter storms in Michigan history. Winter in Michigan. What could be better? Well, quite honestly, almost anything. But I used to enjoy it when I was younger. I want to tell you about 4 of Michigan's worst storms, and I'm so old, I actually remember 3 of them. Number 1, the worst blizzard here in the Great Lakes state took place on January 26, 1978. I was living up at Oscoda, Michigan at the time with my mom and dad, Frank and Lorraine Morrison, and I remember a snowdrift across Cedar Lake Road by Lakewood Shores Golf Course that was taller than the snowplows. Up to 2 feet of snow fell that was whipped around by 60 to 75 mile per hour winds, which piled up drifts 10 foot and more tall. The storm left 400,000 motorists stranded on Michigan roads and was responsible for the deaths of 20 people. There were hundreds of schools closed, which included Michigan State University, only the 3rd time it had been closed in its 125-year history. Then President Jimmy Carter declared Michigan a national disaster area. I remember that storm so well. In the near future, I will do a program about my personal experiences. But for now, let's move on to number 2. I remember this one quite well also. January 27, 1967. A whopping 22 inches of snow fell and paralyzed most of lower Michigan and caused 20 deaths. Almost every school in the lower peninsula was closed. Cars were stranded and passengers stranded on buses weathered out the storm in place on the roadways. I know at the time I was delighted at the schools being closed and was thrilled as I looked out our front room window in Bridgeport, Michigan to see the snow piled halfway up the windows. And now number 3, we reach a storm finally before I was born. This storm mostly affected the Upper Peninsula. The snowfall total was over 46 inches as measured at Calumet from January 15th to January 20th, 1950. And finally number 4, which by golly I also remember, it was the single most damaging ice storm in Michigan history. The storm struck the Lower Peninsula in March of 1976. 28 counties were designated as disaster areas, and this monster storm caused about $18 million in agricultural damage. A whopping 600,000 state residents were without power for upwards of 2 weeks. Consumers Power Company and Detroit Edison had to replace more than 4,000 miles of power lines. Well, how about you? Do you have any storm memories you'd like to share? If so, please tell us about them in the comments section below. And thank you, my friends and viewers, for stopping by.